So welcome to today. I'm Christine.
I'm Liz.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are Double DFense. We're an all-female New York Rangers podcast, bringing you fun conversation about our New York Rangers, the NHL and hockey, and so much more. Thank you for joining us.
So we meet again. Hi, ladies. How are you doing?
It has been an eventful week.
It's only Monday. Oh my God. It's been eventful.
We're still mysterious about what our podcasting schedule is, and we are working on that.
And I feel like those last 2 weeks, I feel like I'm trying to stay awake. Like I feel like it's still much later than it should be. And it's only, I'm like, oh, I think I'm ready for it. Oh, wait, I forgot. It's not even 8:00 yet.
We have it lucky coming up because with all the West Coast games, they're finally on our time zone. So we don't have to be racing in the afternoon to turn the television on so we can start trying to hunt down where to actually watch the games. The games are now going to be in our backyard. So we do have the upcoming West Coast road trip, which kicks off with the Rangers at Seattle on Thursday, November 17th. On Saturday, the 19th, they're playing the Sharks in San Jose. Tuesday, the 22nd, the Kings, and then the Ducks on Wednesday, November 23rd. The Double DFense team will be attending more than one of those games. We'd love to see you there. If anybody is going to be in Los Angeles for the LA Kings game, again, this is to all 14 of our listeners, we are going to be doing a meetup. Yes, we are going to be doing a meetup probably in the late afternoon, maybe around 4:00 at a bar nearby crypto.com arena. So please stay tuned to our Instagram page for more details about that, because we're going to firm it up soon. And we would love, love, love to meet any New York Rangers fans or Kings fans or even Penguins fans for Sarah. If you want to come out and join us for a drink before the game, we'd love to get to know you.
Yeah, the same for the Ducks game on Wednesday night. I know there's a bar across the street. I think it may just be me going, but I represent well, as we learned from our last podcast, just listening to. So it was very well done. Super cute. Some of us are going up to San Jose. We'll definitely be representing at the Kings. I will have the pleasure of getting escorted by my children who are big Kings fans. I'm really rooting for the win that night, because it is tradition that we definitely give each other a bunch of shit, whoever wins and whoever loses.
Okay, I just want to talk about that for a second. What a nice bonding experience between generations. I have to say that. I mean, I became a Ranger fan because of my dad. We used to watch games together all the time. I wish he was still around to hear this podcast. I think he'd be very, very impressed once he figured out what a podcast was and how to listen to it. It really was such a nice bonding experience and something that, I think maybe a lot of us had with our families.
Yeah, when I used to have season tickets to the Kings. My kids grew up being Kings fans. Matthew, my oldest, who's now 22, was always a big, huge hockey fan. I tell people the story. I bought a little Ranger jersey for him, and I used to send him in the Ranger jersey, and he didn't care. He was like, "This is hockey, yay!" And he would go. And my husband at the time they wouldn't want to hurt his feelings by taking the jersey off, but he ended up coming home with a new shirt every time, because someone would go buy him a shirt and they cover it over. And then they got him to root, for the Kings. And, he played hockey growing up. One milestone and kind of bucket list thing for my husband at the time and myself and even my children was that, he played on that Kings ice when he was 5. He looked like he was 10, but he was 5. So that was really fun.
That's
and
so
it was
cool.
usually our game to go to when he was younger, 7, 8. So it was always funny where I'd always have my Ranger jersey on. He'd have his Kings jersey, and we would walk into the game, and he was always like trying to start shit as a little kid. He's like, "Rangers suck," and then he'd get people into it, and they're like, "Yeah," but then we always won. So I was like, I never had to do the walk of shame back to the car with my child. So that was always pretty fun. Yeah.
And Sarah, from growing up in Canada, hockey has to be such a big part of family life. What was your experience?
Definitely. I grew up a Leafs fan. Actually, I don't talk about that a lot. My dad is a diehard Leafs fan. I have this hatred for the Habs that I think I was just born with. They annoy me. They don't really hate them that much, but it's just such a rivalry between the two. I do have an appreciation for the Nordiques we had when I was small, but I do have a Leafs Gilmore jersey in my closet. I cherish that thing. Like Doug Gilmore, oh my God, such a great player who was on the Flames, actually, as I just learned a few weeks ago. I didn't realize that. And he won a cup with them. There's a lot of history there. And one of the lockouts blowouts. I want to say late 90s, early 2000s. It was before Sydney came onto the scene in the NHL. I just kind of like had enough. Like the Leafs weren't doing well. Why do we lose all the time? Like we get to the playoffs and we lose, and it was just becoming very frustrating. I can go find a team that's going to win and I'll be happy about it. And lo and behold, Sid came. I've been a Penguins fan for a long time. My NFL team is the Steelers. It goes well together. Hockey, Saturday nights, it's a staple. I have to say, probably when I moved out west 7.5 years ago is probably when I fell off the hockey wagon. I just wasn't interested in it. The game really changed for me. Too fast and a lot of fighting, as we know. I like watching the fights. It just became less exciting for me. And honestly, until I met Liz this year, I was like kind of in it. I'll go watch games. I'm not the fan I was. I have to say, you ladies brought it back to me. I love hockey and I love the fighting, and the game is coming back to what it used to be for me. I grew up loving it, and my dad is still a big Leafs fan, and we have that rivalry, and that's okay.
It's fun. It's fun. You know, I think the NHL has also gotten pretty smart about building up player stories and helping fans get to know the players personally. With all the social media that's out there, like I feel like some of these guys, you know, details about them, even on the last week for the Rangers, speaking of family and dads, they brought their dads on a road trip with them, which is so sweet. It was such an interesting dynamic. It was really cool to see and hear some of the dads talk about their experiences with their kids growing up. I saw a couple of interviews where they were asking them, like, when did they know that their kid was going to be an NHL player?
They didn't know. They're like, somewhere between 10 and 12, you know, that spark kicked in. It was so cute.
It was really cute. And I have to be honest, we've had a rough couple of games. It's been a lot of ups and downs with this team, but I think, you know, in that 8-2 win over the Red Wings the other night, I think the dads had a lot to do with it.
I think it's great. It's something that they've been doing. You know, I saw somebody on one of the boards like asking about it, and they've been doing this for a while. Like all the teams do it. We just don't know about it. So part of what I've loved is through social media, and even I think the way with Henrik, you know, commentating and stuff, but there's just a different vibe, and they're showing it more. They're showing the locker room action more. I think they did it last year with the moms. They're doing it with the dads, and bringing that, you know, to the fans where we can actually see that interaction, and we can see how proud the parents are of their kids because they're getting them involved in front of the camera as well. I love seeing that. What we'll have to do in the future thing adds to this talk, this family rivalry. You know, and when I'm in New York, I love seeing generations of people that have season tickets. I meet people who have inherited these seats from their dad. And, you know, I've got a friend that will be at the Kings game who's bringing his dad to the game, and they have season tickets in New York. I love not only that generational ongoing of this love for the sport that's being passed down. I grew up, well, not grew up, but, you know, I raised my kids in this rivalry household. So the few people that do survive, you know, like Sarah and their family, with rivalries within the house are even more fascinating, because how do you do it? With my son and the Kings, when the Kings and the Rangers were in the playoffs together, I'd hang up Ranger stuff, and then my son would come along when I wasn't looking, and he would cover my stuff with the Kings stuff, and then I would go and I would go put more Ranger stuff up, and like our house looked like a disaster, like a party threw up, because we just kept putting things over each other's stuff. But it got fun to do that.
Yeah, and it would be nice to kind of hear from our 14 listeners about their experiences. Did you grow up with fans in the house? Did you find hockey on your own? We would love to hear your stories. So please reach out and share that, and we'll post something on the Instagram about that at some point. But speaking of the dad's trip, I think there's one burning question that's been on my mind, and I know it's been on Sarah's mind too, Christine. Did any of the dads catch your eye?
A lot of them did. So.
Anyone's in particular? I have to say, I think I posted this on the Instagram. I thought Heedle's dad was super hot.
They were cute. I think, but I have to look back as to who I was texting, because every time they would pan on those dads, I was like, hey, who's that? And by the way, the dads are kind of more my age group. Some of them. So it definitely was a conversation. You know,
hockey dads.
Good thing is their dads are they're either super darn cute, you know, and happy, and just like you want to hug them. You know, some of them are pretty hot. Props to the moms, props to the single ones too. I definitely enjoyed, especially that game, because I wasn't able to watch the game on Saturday. So I get to hear about it and read about it, which is even more fun. But definitely that game where they just exploded with goals. And then every time they would pan up and the dad would be like, that's mine. Like they would just get so excited as if it was them scoring the goal. So it was more than fun to watch.
It was, it definitely was super cute. Does anyone know, are the other teams also doing something similar?
They all do.
They're all doing this.
Yeah, it is an NHL thing. kind of was looking more into it. Again, I don't know exactly how long they've been doing it for, but they've been doing it for, for a couple of years. I remember a couple of years ago, I caught when the Kings played Vegas, we were standing by the bus and it was all the dads. So that was kind of cute too. I didn't know half the players on the Vegas team at that time, but it was fun. So they all do it. And again, we're just kind of more, they're kind of bringing them more to the front side as opposed to maybe it was a private time with them before, to enjoy an experience.
I love that. And I don't know many other sports that really dive this deeply into getting fans to understand, like, where are these people from? What is their story? It's so personal. I know we talked about this on an earlier podcast, but there is a lot of new women who are coming to the NHL, like experiencing it and becoming fans. And I have to say, like, that is sort of a draw to it. I mean, baseball, you never get to know the players in that much detail, even though you have twice as many games per season. There's so much opportunity to get to know them, but you really don't get to have that kind of personal experience. They certainly don't do it in the NFL. I'm not a huge NFL fan. I've never seen anything like that. And basketball, not at all.
No, I think hockey, maybe even over COVID, it's really become this more of a humble fan approach, if you will, or that engagement between the fans and the players and the clubs. I've never seen anything like it, but at the same time, of all the sports that, especially what you just mentioned, NFL, certainly not. I watch a lot of professional sports and I don't think you have that engagement with the fans, and they're sharing the background and they're kind of giving you that open access, whether it's social or stories on before the games. It's definitely a humbling approach and it's very appealing to a wide audience. It's got that family angle, which is great.
And I think they're taking more to social media. And again, that fan engagement. So kind of seeing more like dad strip. I was just watching a locker room thing. Was it the Bruins? Yeah, I think it was the Bruins where they walked in, there was like a poll, it's like, how many pillows do you have? And it's like 2 pillows, 3 pillows. And it was really cute. Even for other teams, I like to see that interaction. I have to say, Vegas has one of the best and funniest Twitters I've ever seen. I think the Kraken has come out with a really funny one too. By the way, we have Rangers Rabbi and Rangers Jesus on Twitter. Nice. Best calls out by Rangers Rabbi ever.
I love that. Oh my gosh.
So those are really fun. And those are things that in my time in growing my community of friends and who I've learned to get to know over the last couple of years, I've come across these things and it just makes things so much more enjoyable to follow along, because if I just sat on the boards, I mean, literally everybody was crying about, I think I said this last week, but they did it again, even more so this week, because we lost on Saturday. So we really suck. Everybody's got to go. That's why Gallant is this and that's why Gallant is that. I'll put everybody back in their place right now, because fact is that this time last year, 17 games into the season, we had exactly the same amount of wins, exactly the same amount of losses. So we were 8-6-0 last year. At this point, we are 8-6-3. So we actually have more points this time than we did last year. So that's a really common quote I'm seeing, is like, these guys aren't as good as last year. I was kind of trying to chat with somebody like, what are you comparing this to? And these guys are all comparing to like the playoffs, like the end of the year last year to right now. And day to day, they're just taking one point in time from last year and comparing it to whatever that game is.
And I think playoff hockey is a completely different animal. Completely different. But I love when Christine gets riled up about the message boards, because you're right, people were literally calling for heads to roll 2 days ago. But I mean, this team this year, there have been a lot of ups and downs, and I think it's just been confusing because there's been some really great wins, and we'll watch them go out and play 3 periods and they're playing absolutely amazing hockey. And then you have a game like the Coyotes game that they won, but they still didn't show up for the first half of that game. They were slow. They weren't getting it. So I think it just leaves people scratching their head about, where is this team going to go? And that, I think, helps contribute to probably some of the angrier messages on the boards.
Such a point in time thing, because I'm going to add in some other things too. Before I get into some of the milestones that we've kind of seen, which have been exciting, they all are coming at once. I was looking up some stuff today on points in the NHL. We have Panarin with 22 points and he's tied for 8th. Mika and Fox are tied for 10th. 3 people on the leaderboards on points within the entire NHL. That really sucks. We suck so bad that we're with 3 of our players on the leaderboards on points. We have Mika is 9th place for goals and in the NHL right now, and for assists, Panarin and Fox, are on that listing too. And Fox is just named one of the 3 NHL players of the week. And then getting into our milestones, Panarin, has hit his 200th game as a New York Ranger. Mika hit 700 career games, which is great. And then also Ryan Carpenter scored his first goal as a Ranger, and he's a local Staten Island boy. So got to give props to New York guy. And I was looking too, he's 31. So get those goals, come on, Ryan, you got to go. The kids are learning. You've been around. That's exciting because I think sometimes like things open up. One of the things we've got to see is them working together. I was saying that last week, and I think it showed this week. I think the key for the wins yesterday and Thursday were that they were taking the shots we want to see. I was hearing them commentate on Saturday's game, which was that their shots were kind of just like they were practice shots. I had commented on that a couple weeks ago where, I want to see the shots and not right into the pads of the goalie. And we see what happens when they do.
There's been a lot of that, and you can see why people are getting a little bit passionate. I'll use the word passionate on the message boards, but don't go up against Christine. She will shut you down.
Listen, I have a VooDoo doll. Just let me know when I got to break them out. People are listening, you can't see, but I have one.
And who are we? Are we voodooing specific people on the message boards? Are we voodooing whoever
VooDoo has
dentist
powers.
is?
You can do it any way you want. If we have to break out the Ranger VooDoo doll, it looks super crazy.
That looks though, if you stab it, does that hurt a Ranger? Because it has Rangers on it.
It's what you're manifesting as you're doing it. That's how that works.
This is amazing.
A friend of mine made this. His name is Mark Messiest, and he was a hockey player, and he died from strain of lifting the Stanley Cup.
That is absolutely amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
We're not in panic mode yet, but we have it ready.
It's ready to go just in case.
Fix it all.
Just in case, yeah.
Or we have the body bag to put them in, whatever we need to do. We can let the listeners decide. What should we do? Well, the fire shots works on Thursday, so do we have to light more flames? Everybody did love our pairing. I know we were talking about it last week for our Caesar.
Oh, the Bloody Caesar or Bloody Mary with a full fried chicken on top. Okay, so speaking of drink pairings, we do have the West Coast road trip coming up. Do we have anything in mind for the Kraken, Sharks, Kings, or Ducks game? Anything that you ladies are excited to drink?
For the Kraken.
There's a brand of rum called Kraken.
Yeah, there's Kraken rum.
That's.
But what can we make with it? Right?
Eggnog.
Oh yes, Kraken eggnog. Absolutely.
Eggnog.
Perfect
like
for the
next
holidays.
Level. Yeah, it's like next level eggnog in my opinion. It's a little heavy for me because there's something different about that Kraken rum, but it's delicious. That's a
Can't wait till we all get together. It's gonna be great. When we get together, we're gonna have to catch up on everything, and we're gonna be like, okay, all right, we're gonna have to do this shot for like 10 episodes from now. We have to do this shot for like next year, just in case.
And now with the games actually in the evening, we can have like real adult beverages, like real adults now, instead of starting our drinks at 4 p.m. because of the West Coast time.
Yeah, so and then those East Coasters is going to have to deal, for a couple days. I know. It's funny they cry about staying up till midnight.
I've heard it's been mentioned on more than a few podcasts about the game starting at 10 o'clock. Well, we feel for you. Maybe we'll do an espresso martini for you guys, so you can have your alcohol and your caffeine at the same time.
Had my share of those the other night. Let's do that.
Yes.
It's kind of the beauty though of being out west is that you not only get the early games, but you also get the late games early. I love it.
It's full days of hockey. It's absolutely great. And speaking of full days of hockey and other games, one of the things that I wanted to ask Sarah about, because she is our resident hockey expert, what is happening in the league outside of the New York Rangers? Christine and I live in a New York Rangers bubble. I'm going to ask Sarah, what is happening anywhere else?
The timing of this is great. The Hockey Hall of Fame induction ceremony is tonight. As a Toronto girl, I can tell you this weekend is a staple in the hockey calendar if you're kind of in
Triumph,
Toronto.
I think, was performing there.
Yeah, I think so.
Ever.
Daniel Alfredson was being inducted. He's like one of my least favorite players. Luongo, Riikka Salonen, who is a female from Finland, a pro player from the Finnish league, as well as I believe an Olympian from the national Finnish team. She was highly decorated and had all these great achievements in the article I was reading earlier. And the Sedin twins as well from Vancouver were being inducted tonight. And I read yesterday that the Legends Classic game, Wendell Clark had a hat trick and Roberto Luongo wanted to play center instead of goalie. And he scored 2 goals, which is a big deal, right? Because he's a goaltender, played center. Yes. So good for him. That's exciting.
See, we never crawl out of the bubble. I didn't even know there were other teams in the league, to be honest.
What?
I thought it was just like one team and they changed jerseys and played the Rangers every single time.
my closet after the season. I'm gonna have so much hockey stuff from so many teams. It's wonderful. I'm
Welcome
enjoying
to my world.
it. Yes.
Although all my stuff's Ranger
One
stuff.
team. What are you talking about?
But I have a lot of it. So I saw a cute little thing with this Dean brothers where they were asking them, like, have you ever tried to fake anybody out when they played together? They're identical. You look identical.
Yeah.
And I think it was cute. He said no, but I think when they got kicked out of a face-off circle, they would just kind of skate around and switch and kind of come back in and they wouldn't even know.
That's amazing.
So that was a super cute little story. And I'm like surprised. I'm like, why didn't you do more? You could have more fun.
Columbus Blue Jackets forward Patrick Lane is out with an ankle injury, expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks. Speaking of Columbus, I saw there was a lot of buzz on Johnny Gaudreau, and it's not complimentary. So I'm gonna have to dig on that one. I didn't dig deep enough. A lot of commentary there. So he must have done something, which sucks because he came out of Calgary and huge player here last year. Matt Murray is going to start for Toronto tomorrow when Pittsburgh shows up in town. He's coming off an adductor injury, which I don't even know what that is. But that'll be interesting because Matt Murray used to play for Pittsburgh. So we'll see how that goes for them. Jake Muzzin is a defenseman for Toronto and is out indefinitely with a cervical spine injury, which just sounds
today too.
Awful.
That's huge.
Stars of the week, Christine already said Adam Fox for the Rangers, which is amazing. Bruins goalie Linus Ullmark and Avalanche right wing Mikko Rantanen. I'm not great with my European last names. Sorry. And the Devils are likely shopping around for a new goalie because their starter and backup are both out with injuries right now.
So that was like the plague of the playoffs.
Yeah. It's early for having both of them out.
Hopefully they won't get them. They won't get him in before Monday, November 28th, because we'll be playing the Devils on that day.
Bring TBT back. I love Tim Thomas. League standings, I'll finish with this. Boston first, Vegas second, New Jersey third, Islanders fourth, Kings fifth. Rounding out 6th to 10th is Winnipeg, Dallas, Carolina, Seattle, and Toronto, all tied with 19. And the Rangers are 11th with 19 points as well.
We're in there with the 19 points. We were 9th for a hot second. Everything's still changing. The thing is, the point differential is really, really close. So, everyone crying about, where we might sit at one point. I mean, 1 or 2 wins puts us right back up into 4th, 5th spot. And right now you can see those leaders. I mean, they're having win streaks. So that's going to happen. And
we can't forget that the hockey season is about 17 years long. So plenty of hockey left to go.
I'll tell you, my thought is that after this road trip, they do have a tough challenge because you got the Kings are winning and they're doing well. The Kraken, everyone's kind of playing well. So we stand a good chance of beating the Ducks, which is nice. And the funny thing is for whatever reason, we're not beating these teams that are on the bottom when we should be. So where is that going? I take more of, I pay attention a little bit differently when we are playing those games and what's not working. Because like yesterday, they came out really slow starting. I know we were kind of chatting back and forth and texting on it. And I was like, we should have 3 goals by now. We don't even have any shots. What's happening? And even when they scored the first goal, it panned across the bench. Did they even know they scored? They're so chill about everything. I know it's really them and their demeanor too, because we want the excitement. We're excited for it. So it's pretty funny to watch that. I'm hoping for a 50-50. I'm hoping for an upset. They need to win the Kings game because otherwise I do have to do that walk of shame with my Kings bodyguards that I'll be having with me, my escorts. That'll be interesting. But here's my thing. I think after this road trip that they're doing, as we kind of end out the year and close out the year, I don't think we should be losing to the bottom third anymore. I think that's where I usually focus my attention on. It's like, we shouldn't be losing. The bottom third are going to stay there and we should beat them pretty easily.
I think it speaks to more of a psychological thing that's been going on. But I have to say I was real motivated at the end of the Coyotes Rangers game because you could tell that a switch was flipped. So we all know that they're capable of flipping that switch and they're capable of starting a game looking the way like they ended the game. So this team is very capable. It's just a matter of making sure that at every given time they're turning up and they're giving it their all. But there were some really great moments where you could kind of see the confidence come back. And I think that confidence is what they need to take into this road trip. And if they can do that, then I think they could beat any first place team. This team is excellent. You just need to turn up and be there.
They have to play together.
Exactly. And speaking of which, I'm going to talk about just for a minute the bromance of the century. Did you see the little hug that Micah gave Chris? The way he like shuffled across the ice.
He had the biggest smile on his face.
It was
I'm glad they captured it too, and it went everywhere.
When Pribenajad is working, then this team is absolutely undefeated.